There was a time when British television slipped quietly into our living rooms, between mugs of Thai tea, a plate of fish fingers, and the glow of a BBC set warming up. In the 1970s, fear didn't arrive with noise, but with silence, familiar streets, and stories that felt uncomfortably close to home. For many, these programs became part of childhood memories, replayed in the mind long after the screen went dark. If that world feels familiar, take a moment to like and subscribe, because some of the most unsettling moments in British TV history are still waiting to be remembered. 1. Threads. When Threads aired on BBC Two on 23 September 1984, Britain stopped feeling safe. This was the era of coal fires, beige carpets, and tea brewed strong in Pyrex jugs. Yet suddenly, the ordinary streets of Sheffield became ground zero. Directed by Mick Jackson, the film followed two working-class families as nuclear war erupted without warning, stripping civilization back to mud, hunger, and silence. Viewers recognized the locations instantly: Park Hill Flats, familiar bus routes, streets they walked every day. There were no heroes, no music to soften the blow. Just a cold voiceover explaining radiation sickness, food shortages, and societal collapse. Teachers reported children unable to sleep for weeks. Councils received complaints. For many, Threads was not entertainment at all, but a terrifying public service announcement that never faded. 2. The Stone Tape. Broadcast on Christmas Day 1972, the Stone Tape arrived quietly, after turkey leftovers and bowls of trifle. Written by Nigel Neal, already famous for Quatermass, it replaced traditional ghosts with something colder and more unsettling. A team of scientists move into a Victorian mansion to develop new recording technology, only to discover the walls themselves may remember trauma. Michael Bryant's lead performance felt disturbingly believable, more engineer than hero. The idea that stone could store pain like magnetic tape unsettled audiences deeply, especially in a country full of old houses and older histories. There was no gothic romance here, only screams echoing through corridors, and an ending that offered no comfort. Many viewers later said they never looked at their own stairwells the same way again. 3. The Woman in Black. Before the stage play, before the cinema remake, there was ITV's 1989 television adaptation of The Woman in Black. It was restrained, deliberate, and utterly confident in silence, starring Adrian Rawlins as Arthur Kipps. The story unfolded across fog-bound marshes and creaking Edwardian interiors. British viewers recognised the setting instinctively: drafty rooms, ticking clocks, gas lamps struggling against the dark. The famous nursery scene, where the woman appears without sound or warning, became legendary overnight. No music cue, no jump scare, just presence. Parents complained children refused to sleep with the light off for months. It proved that British television horror worked best when it barely raised its voice. 4. A warning to the curious. Part of the BBC's beloved ghost story for Christmas Strand, A Warning to the Curious, aired in 1972. Adapted from Montague Rhodes James, it told of an amateur archaeologist uncovering a cursed crown buried along the East Anglian coast. The beaches felt real because they were real, windswept, grey, and empty in winter. Actor Peter Vaughan delivered a performance heavy with quiet dread, the sort that grows slowly and never leaves. This was folk horror rooted in landscape, history, and guilt. Viewers felt Britain itself watching them aback. The message was simple and chilling. Some things are hidden for a reason. 5. Hammer House of Horror. When Hammer House of Horror arrived on ITV in 1980, it carried the weight of a legendary name. Hammer Films had terrified cinema audiences for decades. And now that blood-streaked legacy entered British living rooms, episodes like The House That Bled to Death shocked viewers with graphic violence rarely seen on television at the time, starring familiar faces such as Peter Cushing and Denholm Elliott. The series mixed gothic excess with domestic settings. The terror worked because it felt close to home. Ordinary houses, ordinary families, sudden brutality. For many parents, it marked the moment when television stopped feeling safe after dark. 6. Dead of Night. Dead of Night first aired on BBC in 1972, but most of the series was later wiped, leaving behind only fragments of its legacy. One episode survived intact, The Exorcism. Set almost entirely around a polite dinner party, it unfolded in a way deeply familiar to British audiences. Wine poured, candles lit, small talk exchanged in a comfortable middle-class home. Actor Edward Petherbridge played a man slowly overtaken by memories of a brutal past life, his calm manners cracking in front of horrified guests. There were no special effects to hide behind. The fear came from shame, guilt, and history refusing to stay buried. Viewers described it as unbearable because it felt like something that could happen in their own dining rooms. 7. Beasts broadcast in 1976. Beasts was another unsettling creation from Nigel Neal, a writer who understood Britain's deepest anxieties. Rather than showing monsters, the series suggested them. Set in farms, laboratories, and quiet villages, it explored fears rooted in science, evolution, and human arrogance. Episodes aired late, often watched alone, with only the glow of a BBC set and the hum of the house after midnight. Stories touched on animal instincts, ancient forces, and modern experiments gone wrong. The horror crept in slowly, through implication and unease. Many viewers found Beasts harder to shake than gore-filled dramas, because it suggested civilization itself was thin and fragile. 8. Children of the Stones. Children of the Stones arrived on ITV in 1977, officially made for children, yet remembered for terrifying adults. Set in the fictional village of Millbury, filmed around real stone circles, the series radiated unease from its opening moments. The villagers smiled too much. The children behaved strangely. Actor Gareth Thomas played a scientist drawn into a web of ancient ritual and quiet control. The chanting theme music, repeated endlessly, became infamous. Parents expected gentle adventure television and got something darker, colder. For many who grew up watching it, Children of the Stones marked the first time television suggested the whole village might be watching you. 9. Shalkan the Weaver. Aired in 1979, Shalkan the Weaver was part of the BBC's refined approach to literary horror. Adapted from Sheridan Le Fanu, it looked more like a painting than a television drama. Candlelight scenes were staged to resemble Dutch masterworks, inspired by Vermeer. The story followed a young woman married off to a wealthy stranger who may not be entirely human. Actor John Finch narrated with measured restraint, letting the visuals do the work. The fear here was slow, elegant, and deeply disturbing. Viewers were unsettled by its beauty, realizing too late that the horror lay in what was never fully shown. 10. The Omega Factor. When The Omega Factor aired in 1979, Britain was gripped by fears of government secrecy and Cold War paranoia. Starring Louise Jameson, the series explored psychic powers, mind control, and shadowy state departments. Set against real Scottish locations, it grounded its supernatural themes in recognisable landscapes, headaches, visions, and unexplained deaths replaced traditional monsters. The tone was restrained, serious, and unsettlingly plausible. Some episodes were reportedly altered after viewer complaints. For audiences already uneasy about authority and surveillance, the Omega Factor suggested that the real horror might be hidden in plain sight. Taken together, these programs reveal a very particular moment in British television when fear was crafted not through excess, but through restraint, atmosphere, and an unshakable sense of realism rooted in everyday life. If these stories stirred memories of a quieter, darker Britain, click through to explore more top-list films from 1950 to 1980. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment sharing which of these shows stayed with you the longest. Until next time, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again very soon.